Hey everybody, David Ellison here. Just announcing the new Altitudes and Attitudes roast, the new coffee from Ellison Coffee to celebrate me and Frank Bellows' group, Altitudes and Attitude. Cool, tasty, delicious coffee since we are both coffee fiends. Click in the link in the description there and you'll be able to find the pre-order for that. And also, just to let you know that Ellison Coffee Company is also a proud sponsor of The Metal Voice.
First review here is, of course, the one and only Raven. They have a new live album called Screaming Murder, Death from Above, live
Screaming
in Elberg.
Murder, Death from Above.
Yeah. It's a live album. It's been a while since their live album that they've had. I'm not sure if they had I know they did the first one, right? Live from the Inferno, right?
Yeah, Live from the Inferno.
I'm not sure if they had a second one somewhere down the line in the 90s. But if they did or they didn't, this new album is out, and I think I'm just completely blown away by this album. They take a bit of the new songs off the last album, and of course they mix it up with the older tracks, and they sound so fresh. This album is raw enough, yet the production is good enough. The energy is there. That's what it comes down to. The energy is there. What'd you think?
Great band, great live album. They're probably one of those bands that I think is, you say it about a lot of bands, but it's definitely true of Raven. The live environment is what they're all about.
Yeah.
It's where it all comes together, I think. A lot of records have been great, some better than others, but I think a live album from Raven is kind of the definitive document.
I agree. That is where they excel. And you know what? It doesn't sound like an album where there's overdubs. It doesn't sound like an album where they're just... I mean, there's always a certain amount of, fixing up you got to do, but it doesn't sound like something that was reproduced in the studio. You got a song like Destroy All Monsters from their last album, and then you have a song like Hell Patrol, and then what the cool song is On and On. It was a big hit that they had, or let's call it the 80s-ish hit that they had that was a little more pop sounding, but in this live album environment, it's a real metal song. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. That's again kind of the point I was trying to make. In the live environment, it's the best circumstance for those songs.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just gonna run down the tracks and just so everybody gets a little taste of what it sounds like. Destroy All Monsters, Hell Patrol, All for One, Hung, Drawn, and Quartered, Rock Until You Drop, Tank Treads, Faster Than the Speed of Light, On and On, Break the Chain, and Crash Bang Waloop. Again, you couldn't pick a better set. And a lot of people are saying this should be a double CD. I don't know, man. When I heard this album, before I heard this album, I thought it should have been a double CD. But when you listen to these 11 tracks, it's such an in-your-face, pouring with energy. I think a double C would have brought the energy level down.
Right. So keep it shorter, more powerful, more in your face.
Great album. It's going to be released on SPV, Steam Hammer in January 18th, 2019. So everybody, a must. And I would rate this highly at an 9 out of 10. I mean, it's of course it's old and old material, but it's a live album. But definitely worth the money. Jimmy Kay here, Metal Voice. Look at this. The Metal Voice shirts are now on sale. Just go to the video description to find out on how you can purchase one. Metal. Let's go to the next one here. Okay, here we go. Now it's Flotsam Jetsam. You heard their last album. It was their self-titled album, if you remember.
Yeah, great album.
And one thing about the last album, the production was extremely high. The vocals were a huge highlight. It was one of my favorite albums in 2017, I guess. Was it 2017 or 2016? But either way, it was on my top 10 list of the year.
I think it was 16.
Yeah, probably was. Again, if anything about this album, it's called End of Chaos. If anything about this album, it sounds like part 2 of that album. It just seems a continuation of where they left off the last album, in terms of production, in terms of vocal melodies, in terms of thrash. And these guys don't let up. They are just thrash, thrash, thrash. What are your thoughts?
But aren't they? They've introduced many different elements over the years on their various records.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the reasons I like them, because they're not just a bash you over the head with a thrash band.
Yeah.
They've got some great stuff, and they do keep it interesting. and they have variety.
For me, the first track, Prisoner of Time, the second track, Unwelcome Surprise, are like the stellar songs, and Control and Survive and Demolition Man, which I think is incredible. And again, the production is big. Is big. Amazing vocal job each and every time. Actually, 8, 9 out of 10. And, the songs all are well written. Okay?
Yeah.
Any last comments?
Nothing. Boy, you haven't left me with much left to say that you haven't covered already. I think that's well put, and I would agree with that. If you like the last one, you'll like this one. It's great that they're consistently putting out such high quality stuff, and I think it's definitely especially if you're a thrash metal fan, it's a highlight of 2019. Yeah. So it's very early in the year, but I think it's definitely a thrash highlight.
So that's the end of Chaos. It's the end of Chaos. Going to be released. Let me get the date here. January 18th on AFM Records. All right. And here's the last one. Here's the big one.
Good way to start the year.
Yeah, great way to start the year. Overkill coming out with The Wings of War on Nuclear Blast, coming out February 22nd, 2019. Give me your thoughts about that. I'll let you start off on this one.
Well, yeah, Overkill album has kind of become an event since they bounced back, and it's not like they were down and out, but Ironbound was really a comeback record after a lot of experimentation and some albums that were not received quite as well as others and some different styles. I won't go into that too much, but since Ironbound, it seems like they've just really focused. They've found out I'm sure they always knew, but they've really kind of honed in on what their fan base want from them. And they're just in that point where they're just delivering that album after album after album. I would love to see a little bit of experimentation in places. I'd love to hear another Who Tends the Fire or Years of Decay, the title track. Mm-hmm. Something like that would be cool. But I really think I'm not saying they're playing it safe, but I think as I said, they've pinpointed exactly what people want from Overkill, particularly, what the audience these days want. And so this is now 4 in a row now, I think, that have been very, very consistent and continuing what they started with Ironbound, I thought.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, here are my thoughts. First of all, Bobby Blitz is like killing it. This guy, he sounds like he's 20 years old. Oh, yeah. The screaming, the yelling, the aggression, the brutality. The guy sounds like his voice never sounded stronger. It's just, if you like that sort of vocal, that singing, right? Again, like you said, this is just another batch of Overkill songs, right? Another batch. I think the production's a lot better on this album than the last album, which I found a little more thinner. It just had a little too thin in the production side.
I didn't notice that much, but okay.
Also on this album, I really thought it had the big hit. The big hit would be Welcome to the Garden State. They talk about New Jersey. And it's melodic, it's catchy, it's got tones of Bruce Springsteen at the end.
That would probably be I was saying, a bit more experimental. That would be the moment, I guess, on this album where something unexpected.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, and I think this is the song that sort of will drive the album. This is definitely probably one of the best songs that they've written. And I'm saying it's because it's melodic. It's something you're going to hum in your head. It's an anthem. Yeah. It's got the aggression. It's got thrash all over it, but it's fun. And I think this is a song that they're going to be playing in their shows, for the next decade. That's what I think.
Great. Yeah. No, that is definitely a highlight.
Yeah. And just to go through a few other songs that I really liked, I thought Last Man Standing was again pure Overkill, distortion. Another great song. And Batshit Crazy. You can't get better than that. And Where Few Dare to Walk, another blistering song. To me, there would be just maybe one song that was kind of a little, as you said, generic. But overall, the album is strong. If you love Overkill, you will love this album. Definitely.
Did I say generic? I didn't say generic.
Okay, you didn't say generic, but you said maybe overdone. How's that? Overdone? Is that
No,
better?
I didn't say. I think like the only point I was trying to make is that they've. I think that they have found exactly what they've experimented in the 90s with some other forms of heavy metal in their music. This continued on into the 2000s as well. They not to say they didn't make traditional Overkill albums, because they did, but there were moments where they would experiment, and some albums were more experimental or better or worse received by the fan base. Since Ironbound, all I said was they'd honed in on exactly what their fan base wants from them. There is less experimentation going, there's less moving into other areas of metal. And they've really excelled with the last 4 albums now since Ironbound really came in. To me, that was the point where that just put them right back up top of the ladder again, and they became premier thrash band again, premier band, full stop. And I've always been a fan, and I liked albums like From the Underground and Below, and I Hear Black, and some of these other records that some people Necro Shine that some people didn't. I would talk to fans and they would say, well, I wasn't so into that. That was too groove metal. That was too this, that, or the other thing. Well, since Ironbound, I think, as I said, that what people have come to expect from them, they have come to deliver. And they're doing it really, really well. I'm not saying, I said they're not playing it safe. I personally would love to hear a little bit, as I said, a little bit more experimentation, because I like some of those moments on those other albums.
Yeah. Well,
this is a great album, and as you've pointed out, there are a couple of tracks that go into places they haven't previously been.
This is like stage diving and mosh pit galore music.
Yeah.
This is definitely a strong 8 out of 10 for me, and I definitely can't wait to see them on tour, because this album is going to sound incredible live. That's what I think.
Absolutely, great band, great album. For me, I'd give this. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. This is a great album.
Wow, that's amazing. That's cool.
For thrash metal, I'm not saying for any album. This is a great album. But
February 22nd, via Nuclear Blast. Go out and get it. So just to quickly summarize, Raven's new live album coming out in January 18th. And of course, Flotsam, another great album coming out January 18th as well. And of course, this is coming out in February 22nd. I'm sure we're going to see, a lot of good reviews on this. All right, Giles, thank you very much for being guest on the show once again.
Good to be here.